West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. 2 shows in one day. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel Santokie, and we are the number 2 Caribbean Cricket show on all of YouTube. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel Santokie, and with me as ever is my partner in crime, Santokie Nagilendran. Santokie, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, Mash. Hope you're well. Hope everyone watching is well. Shout out everyone who got that reference from Mash. If you know, you know. Anyway, we're here, Mash, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. The content never stops. As you said, 2 episodes in a day. Earlier, you did a video previewing West Indies versus Ireland, ODI series. And today, we're here to look at the West Indies A-Team Tour, which also starts tomorrow, the 21st of May. It's a wild Wednesday, Mash. We got West Indies taking on ODI, Ireland in them senior men's ODI in Dublin. We've got the women's, senior women's over in Canterbury, Kent, England, playing England women in the T20 match. And then we've got this at the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia. West Indies A-Team taking on South Africa A-Team, the beginning of a tour, 350 over games, followed by 2 Red Bull games. We're here, Mash, to look at the squad that has been selected for the 50 over games. And first, I guess, credit to West Indies, Mash, because as far as I can remember, I can't remember a time when we've had 3 concurrent tours going on amongst the different age groups across different countries, development, women's, senior men's, everything going on. So firstly, I guess we got a shout out Cricket West Indies.
Yeah, all the cricketer can ask for is that they're given opportunities at as high a level as they possibly can in order to develop their craft. So, and I'm in the context of what we're discussing today, the 50 overs A-Team series against South Africa. I think in the last let's say 2 years, the A-Team has had tours home and away versus Bangladesh, away versus South Africa, and now they've got this home series versus South Africa. Everyone always waffles on about we need more A-Team cricket, and I'd love to have even more, but within the financial constraints that Cricket West Indies have to work within, there is credit, because going to England with 2 seniors, going to Ireland and England at the same time with 2 senior teams, that ain't cheap. It's not like we make money from traveling abroad. We ain't going to make much money out of hosting South Africa A. So you have to give credit where credit is due. But as you said, Santokie, if we look at, I thought my screen was freezing there, internet down bad. But if we look at the press release and what Cricket West Indies have said about this tour, I'll just quickly read it now. So Cricket West Indies Director of Cricket, Miles Bascombe, emphasised the importance of the series in building depth and continuity within West Indies cricket. This series gives us the opportunity to broaden our player pool and aligns with our long-term strategic plan to support the growth of emerging and fringe players who are on the cusp of advancing to the senior team. Alec Athanaze will lead the 50-over squad. And those 3 games will take place at the Darren Sammy Cricket Ground in St. Lucia. So the squad, Santokie, I should really bring it up on the screen. Let me see, 1 second. Let me see if I can bring it up on the screen to make things a bit easier. Bear with me, because we could read it out, but let's actually do some bits and pieces here. Where are we? Here we go. So just share it for the people. So the squad should be coming up on the screen now, people. So the West Indies A squad for the 50 over matches is as follows: Alec Athanaze, captain; Kadima Lane, Kevlon Anderson, Blades actually is now with the senior team, so he's out. Daryl Cyrus, Jid Gooley, Javel Glenn, Marquino Mindley, Shakir Paris, Kari Pierre, Kemal Savary, O'Shane Thomas, Gilson Tyson, and Kevin Wickham. Now, Santokie, what's your first kind of thoughts as you kind of hear and see that squad?
I mean, yeah. So, firstly, obviously, if we're treating this 18 tour as sort of a developmental sort of process. So, it's not necessarily for me. It's not necessarily about the results, whether we win the series or lose the series. It's kind of, as you said, getting cricketers more game time at a high level and developing them. I think Alec Afanese is a good choice as a captain. He's someone who's played sporadically for the white ball sides. He's shown in 50 over cricket he has the intent at the top of the order to kind of continue that. And also in terms of succession planning, as someone earmarked as a future leader in the region, he was obviously people did talk about him potentially being West Indies Test captain. He wasn't interviewed, but obviously that's a bit too early for him. But further down the line, you'd imagine he'd be a captain in some format. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to sort of come in. There are a few surprising names. Obviously, like an O'Shane Thomas has come in. Someone who you think, okay, he's had his time playing substantial cricket for West Indies, but they obviously see something in him and see his route back into the side through this A-team tour. But overall, Mash, I think there's not really... there's a few players I could name missing from there, but generally, I think if we're looking at this as a developmental sort of series and trying to find emerging talent, I think it's a good selection of players, Mash. It's a good mixture of those, who have a bit of experience and then those who are completely novices in terms of international level cricket, kind of melding it all together under a captain who, is aspiring to be a senior captain at some point in Alec Afanese. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it depends where people stand on this, because we can dive deep if we want to and go, why isn't this player here and why was this player picked? But I'm rather nonplussed about it all. There are a few question marks. So I think when you go down the list, Kadima Lane, he didn't have a good Super 50, right? So people might look at someone like Kadima Lane. So here's his numbers. He played 3 matches in Super 50. Scored 33 runs, averaged 11, right? So someone might look at that and go, what on earth is Kadima Lane doing there? But then if you think long-term from a developmental purpose, they'd say you could easily argue, well, he's kind of shown his worth in the academy. He's a hard-hitting opener. Yes, he had a down bad Super 50, but you have to be able to invest in these young guys. And if you don't give them more developmental opportunities, it can't... I guess what I'm saying here, Santokie, is not all development opportunities are about picking the next best 11 players, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
You kind of got to find the right mix between rewarding people who have achieved or performed, rather, in your relevant domestic competition and identifying young talent who you see a bit of potential in. So Kadima Lane, for me, falls into the latter. Someone like Shakir Paris is another one, right? So when you read Shakir Paris's numbers, let me just find him. So Shakir Paris, where is he? Bear with me. Here we go. Just past him. Right. He played 7 matches for CCC in Super 50, scored 197 runs, an average of 33 with a strike rate of 74. Now, again, that doesn't strike me as somebody who should be in a Super 50 development squad, right? But then when you look at Shakir Paris and some of the stuff he's done in CPL, when you look at some of the stuff he did in Breakout League, some of the stuff he did in 4-day championship, you see that he obviously has some potential. So you can see why they'd put some long-term investment in him. But then on the flip side, you see some obvious players like a Kevlin Anderson and go, yeah, well, I get why he's there. Javel Glenn had a good Super 50. I get why he's there. Kemal Savri for Guyana, he averaged 96. I get why he's there. There's certain players where it's just Jadea Blades, although he's now with the senior squad, I get why he's there. So I guess what I'm saying to people who are watching this episode and who might say to us, where's this guy and why didn't this senior man get in? And why, you have to find the balance. And I think we shouldn't go too tough into the complaining about why is this person and why isn't that person. And lastly, before I shut up, we also have to remember that I hope that this is also part of the kind of emphasis that they've been talking about, where they look at data and analytics to suggest why they're picking certain players. So a player can fit your data metric because of what they offer, in spite of what the numbers might be telling you for a particular tournament. So I think all of that comes into the mix.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think it's not, you can't simply have it a case of being the next best 11 players going into the 18 tour. There's obviously more to it. A lot of times they look at data and they also look at, okay, this person's got potential talent. Maybe if they're in a different environment with a different team, we can kind of see what we can get the best out of them. An example also as well, you've got to do what fits sort of what you're looking for. So like Matthew Nandu had a good Super 50, right? He's a young, promising batter, especially in red ball cricket. He's not been selected for this 50 over 18 tour, but we've got an excess of top order young batters at the moment. So Nandu would have exceptionally well. Whereas I know a lot of people will say, why is a Kemal Savary in there? He bats lower down the order. He was very attacking in that Super 50. As you said, average 96. He can wicket keep, and he's also captained the Guyana Harpy Eagles when Imlac's not available, for instance. So he's kind of shown in those 3 areas he can do something. Whereas on paper, you might say, oh, he's 28 years old. He's only played a handful of regional games overall for a 28-year-old. But if you're looking at specific skill sets and what you're looking to build into the current 50 over team, he kind of suits that requirement of someone coming lower down the order who can kind of hit the ball hard, power hit, has wicket keeping experience and the captaincy experience as well. So maybe it's just about, essentially, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, right? So you have to find the right pieces to kind of build. And I'm sure Darren Sammy obviously would have had a say as well in sort of what he's looking for to kind of get that for players to be promoted into his senior side alongside working with Andre Kohli. So it is looking at data. It's an interesting squad. And like you said, Mash, I don't necessarily have a problem, partly because we don't know. With the West Indies side, essentially, we're looking at it as in there's not enough talent for us to say this person should obviously be and all this stuff. It's kind of like anyone we pick is a hunch. They're showing potential. So who are we to say, oh, this person shouldn't be an A-team tour if the data supports them and there's a chance they could do well? You've got to go with it. So I don't have any massive complaints really about this 18 tour. As I'm saying, I'm just looking at it, hoping that we can get some good individual performances. I would have been interested to see someone like an Akeem Jordan included. I know they've got Marquino Minley in there as well, but Jordan played, I think, that ODI series a couple years ago in the UAE. Was played county cricket last year. He's kind of fallen off the radar a bit, but he was someone who they seem to be blooding in as a white ball fast bowler for the side. He's not in there, but they've obviously gone for Marquino Minley and O'Shane Thomas. Really glad to see Kavi Pierre in there though as well, because he's obviously a talented spinner. Obviously at the moment in white ball cricket, we've got a load of spinners as well, but he's someone who's got that talent, got that experience, which is vital as well. And he's also, which we'll talk about in a future video, in the 18 tour for red ball cricket. So that suggests, Mash, that someone like a Kavi Pierre as well, if he puts in good performances, we saw what he done in the 4-day season, taking wickets by the bucket load. If he can translate that into 18 form, he could find himself in the West Indies senior side for formats as well. So it's a promising sort of squad. I'm just hoping we can put in some good performances. Is there anyone in particular, Mash, who you sort of are eyeing up, who's been flying under the radar, who you think, okay, they can make the most of this tour, this 50 over tour, and kind of put a claim into getting a maroon cap?
Boy, so when I look at this squad, I don't see any so obviously the ODI team is about to bowl off against Ireland tomorrow at the time of recording, right? When I look at that squad, Alex probably the obvious person where you might say you may have a shot in the near future for the 50 over team, but think about the brand of cricket that Sammy's trying to get this ODI team to play, right? You've got the return of Evan Lewis with his explosive batting at the top. Shafane Rutherford had a breakout season last season, right? Jangu had a century on debut. Holt's a lock in that side. Carty's a lock in that side, right? There's not actually many spots available in our ODI side. And I'm not saying that this 18 tour means an immediate jump to the senior men's side, but all you can ask the players to do is put in some level of standout performance that makes Sammy think about them in the future. If Jadea Blades had stayed with the 18 squad, I think, and the fact that he's gone up to the senior squad tells you a lot, because he offers the because he offers the left arm angle. I think he's probably ahead of most of them in the pecking order because he has a skill set that West Indies are drastically looking for. Daryl Cyrus probably has a good chance of turning a few heads because he's obviously a leg spinner. They're looking for a leg spinner. It suggests that they're moving on from the kind of Yannick Carrier and Hayden Walsh stuff now, and that they're trying to look elsewhere for that kind of skill set. Marquino Mindley could do with a good one simply because I think he played a game against, I want to say he played against Bangladesh as well in that recent ODI series. So if he can put in some strong performances, he might be able to cement himself as the next seamer off the rank if one of Alzari, Jaden, Shamar Joseph, for example, Ramara Shepherd, was to get an injury of some sort. And then lastly, Santokie, if we just look at the seamers, you have so we've just spoke about Marquino Mindley, but you have O'Shane Thomas in there and Gilson Tyson. Now, for me, it's very obvious why O'Shane Thomas and Gilson Tyson are there. They're two of the quicker bowlers in the region. I've had a few people in the Discord come back to me and say, how can West Indies still be finding a spot for O'Shane Thomas? Like, when will the O'Shane Thomas experiment end? Like, some people kind of writing an obituary on his West Indies career. But I just think that what it boils down to for O'Shane, and in the Super 50, he took, I want to say he took 8 wickets or something. Let me find him. O'Shane took 10 wickets in Super 50 at 27 apiece. His economy was 6.18. Now, 6.18 in 50 over cricket is not fit for purpose. But he had some good performances in the 4-day championship. And I think, Santokie, it's just that I just think that West Indies look at O'Shane Thomas and say, it's like Hetmeyer, isn't it? Where it's like, yeah, but you were so good once upon a time, and we're just not going to give up on you until it's absolutely incontrovertible that we'll never get that player back again. So I'm not actually mad at it. I haven't seen that progression that suggests that O'Shane's ever going to reach those levels again, but I'm not mad at them continuing to insist, because if you ever unlock it and you ever find that kind of pacer that terrorized people at 18 and 19, 20, whatever it was, then you have a genuine express guy on your hands. And similarly, Gilson Tyson is an express guy. So again, I get the experimentation there.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, yeah, as you said, O'Shane Thomas is, like you said, exactly like Hetmeyer. It's just there's always that hope that you can sort of get him playing right and you unlock that potential. And the ceiling is so high for him. If you can unlock that, that's always what kind of gets people thinking, all right, let's give him another chance and go through there. And then, O'Shane Thomas, there's still time. There's still time for him to make a comeback, obviously. So, and they've given him a chance in the 18 tour. I think one person, Mash, who'd probably be disappointed not to be in the side is Boucher for Barbados, Lenico Boucher. I think he was the 3rd highest run scorer in Super 50, opened as well. Remember, he hit a really attacking, I think it was 81 against Trinidad and Tobago in that Super 50, which stood out for me. So he's someone who, I'd imagine would be disappointed. He didn't perform well in Super 50 either, but I thought maybe Machel Louis might have been given a chance. I know he's playing the cool and smooth at the moment, so I don't know if there was a clash or anything there. But Machel Louis, someone who didn't put the numbers in 50 over cricket, but from what we've seen in Test cricket, he can play quite attacking. He's played international cricket, maybe potentially worth giving a chance in the 50 over format. Other than that, as you said, Mash, there's not really anyone who I can genuinely say, oh, it's an outrage they're not in the squad, because we don't know sort of how players are going to develop. So all we can do, Ash, is watch this side, obviously rally behind them, and hope that we can see some good performances from a lot of these younger players on the fringes. Yeah.
I do have one thing, though, that I think this is a genuine point of mention. Just want to see what you think about this. My only concern is actually this. In December 2024, or the back end of 2024, a big kind of attention was given to the fact that we sent about 7 of the kind of youth men out to India to go play in that spin camp, right? So just remind people of those names: Jewel Andrew, Kurt McKenzie, Akeem Ogis, Jordan Johnson, Matthew Nandu, Kevin Wickham, and Teddy Bishop. Now, obviously, Kevin Wickham is in this 50 over squad, but just a slight concern here, Santokie, because if you invest in players enough to send them over to India to do a 2-3 week spin camp, you're saying to those players, we think you have serious potential to kick on. Don't you kind of then have to include them in stuff going forward? Because otherwise, the investment will just feel like it's a stop-start. Like it feels, if you're not then going to include them in stuff, irrespective, because some of these people in this A-team series, right, haven't even got a performance behind them that really justifies them being there. Yeah. So if you're going to include players like that, shouldn't you then be like, so someone like Kirk McKenzie, I think, has a genuine case to say, well, hold on a minute. So Kirk, for example, in Super 50, Kirk averaged 38 at a strike rate of 78. I'm not saying that's good, Santokie, in terms of the strike rate. But I am saying, if you invested in Kirk to send him to India after he's made a test debut, which he probably shouldn't have done, but he did, what do you get? Like, the math ain't mathing. Where's Where's the developmental chain there then? Like, what are you saying to Kirk then about why you even took him to India in the first place? People like Orgeson, Nandu, and Bishop, at least you can say, well, you can play in the academy games against Sri Lanka emerging team when they come in June. At least with them, I kind of get where they're going to go, and Jordan Johnson possibly. But I do think there's a question mark about what about Kirk McKenzie here?
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about on previous episodes. It's kind of like McKenzie's been discarded, but it wasn't long ago he was a starter in the Test side, right? And he was piling on the numbers against. He was our top scorer in Australia the year before last. So it is strange that they took him to India, so they haven't forgotten about him. But then, like you said, where's the payoff? Then what's the next step of development for someone like a Kirk McKenzie? Because the obvious thing would have been, all right, you've not put up the numbers, but we've seen you play international cricket. We've taken you on a spin camp. Let's put you in this A-team tour, see if you can make a jump up, see if you can put a runs. So that'd be an interesting one, to kind of put towards the selectors for this tour and kind of ask, do you have a specific plan for Kirk McKenzie? Because he's kind of in that weird grey area where he's not playing for the academy anymore, and then he's kind of been discarded at a senior level. So what's his pathway? Because he's someone who, as much as he gets derided in the region for his average in Test cricket, he's a young man who showed potential. That was the reason why he was put into the Test side, and we can't afford as a region to give up on someone like a Kirk McKenzie. So what is the pathway for McKenzie? So that's a good point. There's obviously other candidates like Rakeem Cornwall, for instance. I feel Rakeem Cornwall's always going to come up, his name for any selection. I think West Indies have moved on from him, and I don't think we'll be seeing him selected anytime soon. And I think that's pretty much looking at the thing. Yeah, looking at the squad. Other than that, like I said, there's not really any massive question marks. When we do the video for the Red Bull squad, I'm sure there'll be a lot more talking points, with the first class season having just finished. But Mash, overall, all we can do is rally. It's free, actually. All the games are free to those in St. Lucia, so hopefully we get some sort of crowd going to watch these young bucks in action against the South Africa A team. South Africa A similarly have picked a young squad who, applied their trade in domestic cricket. So it'd be a good contest, and I think it will be a good gauge to see what level we're at, what level our next generation are at compared to South Africa's.
I should just point out to people before we go, because somebody might say, why didn't South Africa send a stronger side? But what became apparent is South Africa's warm-up ahead of the World Test Championship, they're actually playing Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So Zimbabwe are over here at the moment playing England. Then after Zimbabwe play England in that Test match, they then play a kind of, I guess it's an unofficial, or maybe like it's a 4-day game. It certainly doesn't have Test status, but they're playing a game against South Africa in English conditions. So evidently South Africa took the chance took that game as more critical because it's in English conditions than sending quote unquote better side to the Caribbean. So they are literally using this A-team series, both 50 over and the unofficial Test matches, to actually just look at their bench strength, which is wise from them. So yeah, Santokie, as you said, that's kind of a look ahead to the 50 over segment of the A-team series. And as Santokie said at the top of the show, so it's like the Thriller in Manila tomorrow. 3 matches that you can watch all at various different times, obviously in the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean, England women versus West Indies women, for most of you, will be 1:30 in the afternoon. Ireland men versus West Indies men will start at like 5:45 in the morning, Eastern Caribbean time. And then West Indies A versus South Africa A starts 9:30 in the morning, Caribbean time. So
that's not even the half of it. Obviously, regular viewers will know I'm a massive fan of Tottenham Hotspur. Tomorrow we got a big European final against Man United. Mash, if we lose, you might never see me on the podcast again. I know a lot of the viewers here and followers out here, especially in the Caribbean, are big supporters of Man United. But I have every faith Tottenham can finally get our hands on a trophy and break the curse under Ange Postecoglou. So, as you said, massive day across cricket, across football. And yeah, we hope for positive outcomes for both West Indies and Spurs. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. The content, Mash, has been frantic. It's been moving throughout this year. As Mash said, you done 2 videos yesterday, the mailbag, and looking ahead to the women's tour of England. Today you dropped one earlier on the ODI series against Ireland, coming up preview. We've got this one here. We'll definitely be doing reactions, reviews of all the flurry of games going on across the region. So keep an eye out for that. Follow us, Instagram, X, TikTok, Blue Sky, Facebook, Patreon.com. If you can donate, any little helps, we invest it back in the product, and also with the big tours coming up in England and Ireland, obviously all funding will go into that to help give the content there. Obviously, I think Mash, you mentioned on an earlier episode, shout out Dan, big follower of the podcast, big fan, nice guy. We both met up with him in person at various points. Has kindly donated as well to the podcast, a private donation, which is kind of helping us with travel funds and getting around for, you know, the games. Because trust me, cost of travel in UK is not easy, you know.
Listen, when I come back from Ireland and I tell people how much that hotel costs just to stay 2 nights in Ireland, boy, West Indies best win, you know. But listen, as Santokie says, people, thank you so much as ever for supporting Caribbean Cricket Podcast. On the way out, like, share, subscribe, comment. All of that stuff helps the algorithms and keeps the podcast growing and the show growing for the number two cricket show in the Caribbean.
Guys, let us know. We heard there's a number 1 podcast out there, so let us know in the comments below what we need to do to become number 1. You know, because we're out here stuck in number 2. So yeah, comment below, and obviously comment below actually if you think anyone is missing from this 50 over squad as well, who you think should be in it and why. And let's get the debate going. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.